lady, I guess, cynical spinster cat lady.
Cat
Um,
whisperer.
cat whisperer, yes. Still, I mean, that's still true. That's still true. I'm gifted that way. I do have a partner there now, though. He's got kids, so it's really evolving now to include that. I'm no longer a spinster, so um,
You're the
I
evil
don't know. I
stepmom?
don't know how it's going to wind up evolving.
Evolving. The evolving as an evil
Mhm.
stepmom? Is that the you're avoiding that term?
I'm not evil at all, despite my name. I'm delightful.
you,
I'm
you
delightful.
are you are definitely delightful. I'm enjoying the French term being a beau père, which is the good dad. That's a stepdad in French.
Oh,
There,
okay.
yeah. So it's a belle mère is what you'd be called. Um, if it comes to that. Sorry, you're just partners at this point in time.
Correct,
Uh,
yeah.
so when it comes to writing, um, do you are how consistent are you with your writing habits? What's some of the writing habits that you have?
I am not at all consistent whatsoever, especially over this lockdown. Not really, not really consistent at all. I was a lot more consistent before. Um, Now it's just, if I'm in the shower, something funny comes to me, or I make my friend laugh, I write that down and see how it works on stage. Is where we're at with that.
Mm.
I'm not really, really good at writing on stage either. I do kind of have to have a punchline thought out at a time, something mapped out, but I've
Do
not been doing anything consistently other than lying around in sweatpants for the last year.
when you do have stage time, do you find that you like on a more open mic type show that you're willing to sort of like, oh, that punchline worked. Let me see if I can just generate some tags, or do you need to sort of have that mapped out as well before going up?
Um, no, if I'm on an open mic, I really think that for me, if I have a new joke, I really have to go to an open mic and tell it because it will bomb horrendously the first time I tell it. But maybe I'll get a few guffaws on a tag or something like that, and then go from there. But I really have to get the words out first before trying it on a stage show of any
Hmm.
kind. So, but I really do think that when you are going to an open mic, you really should bring some new material with you or new tag or new way of saying something or someone once told me that if a joke gets laughs it can get more laughs, so you should
Hmm.
constantly evolving your jokes, I think.
That's actually really good advice. It's the idea of trying to hone a joke to make it the most effective as possible. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
do you concentrate on like when you're writing? Do you concentrate on the word economy or the turn of phrase or where the left turn or the surprise is in the punch? Like what do you feel that you do kind of best naturally when it comes to writing?
um hmm I think I come up with really good premises and then just try and go from there. What makes it funny, what turn of phrase is going to make it funny. When I'm watching other comedians, word economy is something that I always really appreciate when you're watching a comic that they've just mastered uh, that aspect of comedy. I'm always kind of in awe of that. Um, but I definitely don't start there. No, I think I talk way too much and then tone it right back and then take out anything extraneous and then go back to it and add more in.
That's the East Coast storyteller that a little bit. Do you utilize storytelling in your jokes, or how do you kind of you're not so much a one liner. How would you
No,
describe your?
I mean, I think a lot of, I mean, not every single one, but a lot of my jokes start off with truth. Like it starts off as a true story. So you kind of have to take anything extraneous or there could be a red herring out of that. It's not relevant to you telling a joke to the audience. Um, so it starts off, I guess, at an open mic. The story is the story. You see what gets the laughs, and then take out everything you don't need, and then add in the lies, the funny lies.
or the twists, or the embarrassing confessions. Uh, Way too many of my jokes are actually just embarrassing confessions.
A little
Uh,
self-deprecating. I haven't seen you perform in a while, actually, either.
I know you. You actually. I had a memory come up maybe 2 weeks ago now that just sort of because you used to work at the Yuck Yucks. Are you still
Mhm.
what are you limited to a venue in Ottawa when you're performing?
No.
No. Okay. I put that. I asked that question as delicately as possible because I'm not great with politics at all.
Well, I mean,
But
that's not strictly true. I'm not limited to either Yucks or Absolute, but there have been some limitations in the past of what I of shows that I can and cannot do.
okay, I some of them are. There's usually I have limitations, and they're sort of self put on at times because some
Hmm.
people I don't want to work with. You know, yeah, you
Pardon
were
me.
barking outside of a club one night, and you announced that there was a comedian from Montreal, and a passerby said, "Oh, is it Paul Ash?" And you were kind enough to relate in a message to me that conversation
Oh,
happened. And so I ended up, I think I screenshotted it and tweeted it because just it made me feel good. But I think that was like the week after I had been there. So it was, dang it, a little late. Uh, but it was a lot of fun. Now
I do vaguely recall that.
you do vaguely
I
recall it.
I do vaguely recall that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, you've come up with some interesting concepts for shows like Clean Comics Gone Wild. So asking clean comedians to write dirtier material or more blue material.
Those
Uh,
shows were so fun. They were so fun. I missed them. Um, they were wild. It was so great seeing these comics say things that they couldn't normally say. And they were totally dirty. They were totally dirty, but well written.
the skill is still there. It's more than
Yeah.
just dropping an f bomb into a clean joke that makes it dirty.
Hmm.
So the chance, like for me as a comedian, to explore and say things that I may have written or whatever, and then realize I can't really do as part of a regular act was it's a very much a special treat as a comedian to do. Um,
I think the tendency, especially for newer comics, is to just say the most shocking thing they can think of, and it is kind of cathartic because you get to say it out loud.
hmm,
Maybe someone laughs, whatever. But you get that. Um, there's no refinement to it. It's not necessarily a clever joke. It's just I'm saying this provocative thing.
yeah,
And when you have comics that have, they're trying to get paid work, they're going to the clubs, they're not saying those things. They have some refinement in their writing. And when they get to a dirty joke that's actually refined, it's it's really fun to see because they can't. But that said, a lot of comics, like I mean, Tim Rial was one of them, Colin O'Brien another. They wrote these really dirty jokes, and they end up using as closers in their everyday sets,
yeah,
just slightly less dirty. So I mean, it was a really good writing exercise, I think.
definitely, and it's also a chance to sort of like test a material that you wouldn't normally be trying, and yeah, I think it's good to stretch. I've I've seen a number of young comics sort of developing in Montreal who sort of get stuck at that edge lord wannabe. That sort of like I
Mhm.
just want to say something shocking, and I want you to appreciate me for being clever for saying the thing that is, the most shocking, and it gets boring really quick for me. I like
Yeah.
I don't think I'm alone in that. Um,
No, I hear you. It does. You're kind of like, oh God. But I've also been, I've also done it. I've also
yeah,
had the microphone and said something like, oh my God, and gotten a rush out of being able to say it.
yeah, me
So,
as well. So there is that thing, but there's the difference between the cleverly written ones and the edge lord just kind of popping it out just because I have a microphone and no one can stop me. Um,
mhm.
there is a difference, and I from what I know of you, you know that difference when it comes to performing. You're also like what's been your favorite shows to produce? Like, because you're known as a producer in Ottawa as well, to the point that you are Uh, I think you're contemplating the idea of doing a workshop with people online about producing shows.
Yeah, I was because I was really bored, and I don't know. And then there was a whole thread on Facebook about that, right? We're just talking about like best practices and whatnot, and it was a bit of a back and forth between Brendan McKeegan and I, and he kind of is like, "Welcome to mine and Karen's Circle Jerk," and I think you really hit the nail on the head. Like I think I was just looking to talk shit. To
Yeah.
be honest with you, I think I was just missing it and just let's talk about producing.
Well, then
Now I
like
have to sit
talk.
down and write stuff.
Yes, but this is another chance for you to espouse your knowledge here. You can share in this, and you can, if you want, you can call people out. There's people that can. We've got people watching, so they're interested, and I don't think it's just the cat. You know,
It's
having the
just
cat on screen does mean that we win the internet, but
mhm.
uh, like what are the elements that you think go into producing a good show? What are the skills that a producer? Those are two separate questions, really. What are the skills that a good producer should have?
I think you really have to know your audience is really important. I wasn't producing. I mean, I have in the past, but I wasn't producing any open mics. I was producing paid shows. There was a ticket price, and there were pros. It was semi-pro shows, and so you really kind of had to book that in mind. And it was suburban, right? And the same kind of comedy that's gonna go over really well, like open mic coffee house downtown. It's not gonna necessarily translate the same way in the suburbs, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So that really is key. Know your audience. Something else to think about is that if you're producing a show that's not in a club but in a venue, you're there to um, increase their sales, right? You're really there to increase your sales.
Yeah, Jim
Unfortunately, and
Adreno's.
with the byproduct of growing your art, hopefully,
Yeah,
but it's to increase their sales. And so you really kind of you can't treat that venue like it's your own,
yeah,
vanity project and just book the comics you want to book and it's a big party. You have to treat it professionally. You do have to help them grow. I mean, they should ideally be involved in the process as well, right? They should be invested. And you really have to keep their clientele in mind as well.
yes.
You have to keep them happy. You have to keep your customers happy. You have to keep your talent happy. You have to keep yourself happy.
Hmm. It's you. You reminded me of Jim Adreno's. He's got a quote saying that stand-up comedy is the only art form designed to sell beer,
Yeah.
uh, which is
Mm-hmm.
forgive us dry bar for saying that, but like it's pretty much it's
Yeah.
hammer on the nail.
Yeah. We're
Uh,
right hand in hand with cover bands.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, but is cover bands an art or is it a skill? Is that a craft? All right, philosophical
Depends which of my
questions.
friends are watching.
But yeah, so you're saying like know your audience, know your venue, and tailor it to try to make as many people happy as possible.
Absolutely.
Is yeah.
And ideally
Uh,
make some money.
Ideally, making some money. Where does promotion fit to that? Do you count on the venues to help with the promotion? Are you doing promotion beyond what they would be able to
I
assist
mean,
with?
the weekly show we'd always there's a weekly show that I'd run for on and off for about 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they would typically be the ones to promote. Um, so
Four
I'm not
years,
the
they
best.
must be happy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It was a niche. It was out in the suburbs. It was a strip mall, and they had comedians going up there that you could see at the clubs downtown. What's not to love?
exactly. Now, what has been your thoughts about the online comedy?
Um, I think that it's great that so many people are able to pivot, and that's the word I think now for the lockjaw pivot. I feel so awkward online. Even now, I feel incredibly awkward all the time. I'm staring at myself. I hate it. So I've
I'm staring
limited
into I'm staring into the camera to appear deep and thinking.
and thoughtful.
Mhm.
it just doesn't come very automatic to me. It feels so awkward. I'm not a big fan. I've not watched much online. The battle calm though, I think is kind of fun because it's not you just doing your material in your kitchen like I'm doing right now. It's you're writing for a
You
specific
dressed
purpose.
up. You dressed up very well for the Halloween edition uh, of Battlecom. That was a lot of fun.
Well, it's good that I put effort into something because it wasn't my performance that day.
You were fine. It was fine. We loved having you. I've asked you back, so it can't have been
It's
that
true.
bad. Uh, so who are some of your comedy heroes? Like Ottawa has had a large number of very good comedians come out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot who like still call the Ottawa area home, so they're coming back to visit fairly often.
Yeah. I mean, a few times a year, usually you'll see like Tom Green or John Doerr or somebody come back into, especially Yuck Yucks.
Hmm.
They all kind of come back there. I This is the hardest question that everyone asks, so I should have an answer ready. I don't. It changes.
Well, that's
I'm
just
just
it. Your
a
mood can change, your taste can change. Like I have like a top five in my head, and it
yeah.
really which one would be number one depends on the mood in the day. And I
You know,
like
there are
that's same with movies and music. So
there are like old road dog comics that whose jokes are so outdated that I can sit and be enthralled by just because I'm
a history
fascinated
lesson.
at the art of they're still destroying. They're still
Yeah,
destroying. They're still doing a phenomenal job. The jokes I don't find funny, but there's a performance art happening that's still exciting to watch. I would say,
the skill in the presentation.
yeah, live over produced for sure over like a Netflix special. You got to see something live.
Yeah.
If you can see that comic a few times and just see how their act changes with the dynamic of the audience.
Yeah, for me, one of the things like because I had the pleasure of working at Just for Laughs and being like backstage at the Club Soda venue, and so I'm seeing uh, uh, people like Dylan Moran do 7 shows in 4 nights, and seeing just exactly how the material is changing up in that time period as he's adapting to being in front of a North American audience, or seeing Jim Gaffigan just come in and just be such a consummate professional that even the pauses are in the same place.
Some cat butt
Yeah,
cameos here. Okay, sorry.
it's all good. So who is
This
we're
is
winning the
Rocco.
internet with a cat. Hi, Rocco. Yeah, see,
He's
I
an
obviously got
asshole.
the name right because it's a cat, so it ignored me. Uh, so who would be like some of the comics that you look up to, or who's a comic that you think has influenced your voice? Maybe that would be a better question.
Um, Let me just extract myself from this cat. That's Come on, get down. Okay. Um, One of the first times I ever performed, I think it was my second set ever. Someone came up to me outside the venue. I was smoking, right? Someone came outside and said, "Oh, you reminded me of Kathleen Madigan." And I was like, "What? Really?" Because I don't know if you know who that is. Like
Yeah,
she's
of course, yes.
yeah. But at the time I was a bit younger and I was like, I remind you of her. And then I started watching her specials on Netflix and she just had this really easy style. Like she made it look effortless, very casual. She was on stage, had good word economy,
Hmm.
likable. I mean, she wasn't reinventing the wheel. There was nothing crazy happening, but it was likable, hilarious, relatively clean. She was very charismatic. And so something like that is what I would aspire to.
Hmm. Very cool. It's a very good choice too, because that's a very funny comic. So,
She
uh,
is. I mean, she's not. I think she's probably underrated now. I mean, I don't think she's anyone like any millennials hero, but
true. And what was it? She was that '80s show was sort of her TV break, which was supposed to be the sequel to that '70s show.
Yeah, I never watched it, so
Yeah, so that's kind of what happened with that show. No one really watched
we
it.
weren't ready for it.
No, the world wasn't ready for Kathleen Madigan. So hopefully
Wasn't
it'll be
ready.
ready for you. But since that time, you've obviously would have evolved. What other influences would you do you think that you take in when in your presentation?
That's really hard to answer because I don't really try to emulate anyone.
Hmm.
Um, and I'd be hard pressed to. I mean, I've been so fortunate to have been able to work in clubs. Like I started working for Yak Yaks years and years ago before I ever performed, and more recently before the lockdown, I was more affiliated with Absolute. So I mean, I'm so lucky to have FaceTime with so many professional comedians that it's so many of them have imparted little words and tips and tricks that have stayed with me.
So it's important what you're saying for any developing stand-ups out there, and anyone, feel free to drop in with a question or hit the like button. Let us know that you're there. It's important for developing comics to pay attention to the pros when they're coming through town, and to see, don't hound them. But well, I know when I was traveling, to have somebody who offered to show me around town, etc., is helpful, and we have the chance to discuss the art form at that time too. So
A lot of pros really just do want to talk shit. So, I mean, oftentimes if you ask nicely, they'll be happy to watch your set if you're on a show with them and
right.
offer a few pointers. Some won't. Some will say no,
Hmm.
but doesn't necessarily mean you've made a lifelong enemy if you ask nicely.
If you ask nicely, and if you get a
Yeah.
no, not to get pissy
If you're
about it.
respectful,
Yeah.
you're not 2 months into the game and selling merch or something on their show.
Right. There's one thing. What do you think are the greatest flaws for starting comics?
Um, I mean, there's a lot of mistakes to be made, and you're probably going to make them.
Mm.
Um, I
The thing is
think
to recognize them and lose them. But
yeah. I mean, it, if you have had no experience in the comedy industry whatsoever, and you start telling jokes somewhere, I mean, you really have to get a feel for the community and the lay of the land and etiquette and whatnot. And so, I mean, there's not really a lot of things you're going to fault somebody for if they screw up. But definitely like comics that come in and they're, 2 sets, 3 sets in, and they start badgering you about doing weekends and paid spots and that kind of thing. That's like calm down, calm your tits. But
to have
hold
them
your horses.
not recognize the level that they're at, or recognize their worth in comparison to the
That's right. I think
establishment.
I think that's really something that's takes a long time to figure out, especially if you've gotten laughs the first few times you did sets. You might think that you're amazing and doing really well, and you could be on a really good trajectory, but it takes a really long time to get to a level where people want to pay money to listen to you. To be
Yeah.
honest, right? And I think you should stretch yourself. Definitely, like get out of your comfort zone, but don't take on work that you're not qualified. Basically, I think.
You're not ready for.
Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, Now, advice for producers. We covered a little bit about producing something, and you've talked about how important the venue is. Is there how do you approach a venue? What's your way of developing a because communication, I feel communication with the venue and understanding their expectations is very important. How do you go about building that relationship prior to just going in and saying, "Hey, I want to do a show here"? Do you do anything ahead of time, or?
Um, I've been fairly lucky in that. I mean, I was kind of given a show several years back, and then that venue closed down and a new one opened up in its place, and then that venue wanted the show back. So for that particular venue, um, other than that, I mean, if you've got a really good concept, you can pitch it
Hmm.
to a venue owner. It really depends on what kind of show. You know, if you want, I mean, you should be trying to get something out of it. They should be giving you something other than just stage time, right? They should be
Yeah,
invested. They should be giving you money or promo or beer or something.
that's important. If I mean they need to get something out of it, they need to increase their sales. But if they're not invested in its success, if they're just counting on you to bring in butts in seats so they can sell more booze, then it's going to be very one sided.
It
It's
is.
you have to deliver, and then they have nothing to give to you. So yeah, what you started listing. I'm sorry I cut you off. What are the methods that you can get them to sort of be invested in the show? Like you started saying some, so if you
I
could,
was saying, I mean, they should pay you. They should give you
yeah,
money, or and promotion, and beer.
and beer. So those are
Those,
three negotiating
those
points:
are the
is
three magical negotiating.
money, beer, and assistance with the promotion. Because that's part of being a show promoter or producer is the promotion aspect. Um,
It is, yeah.
I've produced shows in Ottawa and downtown Ottawa, and I've struggled because I've had shows that are nearly sold out, and then I've had shows where 10 people show up.
Yeah, that I
What
know. I've been on
what
some,
is it? Thanks. Yeah, I've been on your shows. There are only 10 people
yeah.
have shown up. Paul,
And
what's
you've
up
been
there?
on mine, so you know that I'm,
Yeah.
in the same boat.
What do you think? Because in Montreal, it's a little bit easier. I find getting a crowd. People kind of want to go out, even though it's like the population density is in Montreal is what's the word for it? It's an illusion because if you're looking at the population, probably only 10 to 20% of the population is actually English first, and then you need to find the neighborhood where you are going to hit as many anglophones as possible to draw them into a show, and then also tailor the show to make sure it matches their expectations. Now, in Ottawa, what are the challenges when it comes to producing, to advertising, to bringing in an audience? What do you think are the tips and tricks to be able to do that?
Um, Good Lord, I wish I had the answer to that. Yes.
And while you're at it, what is the
Okay, well,
meaning of life?
for it's 42. Um, I think, I mean, for me, okay, for my show, we would have, especially since the venue reopened, so that was a few years ago, you on average, it was a weekly, and I would say like about 25 people on average, which is breaking even for us. Then like once a month, you'd be selling it out, be a really big crowd, you know. But there were a lot of regulars, and so we get to know the regulars, and um, I would have a few customers that I'd consider ringers. So if
Mhm.
I knew attendance would be light, I'd send them a message and like you and six of your friends, half price or whatever, free, blah 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 blah,
Nice. Yeah.
or just something like that, just to get some more people in the room, so it doesn't make it uncomfortable for the people that do come and pay.
So yeah, working the mail, your email list, I guess,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
and the postering. I mean, that's more of a downtown thing. And again, I invested a lot of money personally in
Mhm.
postering in Ottawa, which again drew sporadic results. So when it comes to like the suburbs or doing suburban comedy shows, I guess having the venue, if it has a sign, being on the sign would help. But is there postering or outside advertising that would work
I've
there?
done a
Or
little bit of postering with limited success. I think that social media advertising is probably a pretty good bet.
are you talking like
Um,
paid Facebook ads or?
Not even, as long as you have some people that say they're going to your event, other people go,
Mm,
oh, okay, well, there must be something to that. There's 65 people going. This looks like it could be a fun thing.
cool.
The illusion of something already. exciting already happening. Right, there's a lot of people going. This must be awesome. Oh,
FOMO,
there's three.
fear
There's
of
three
missing
people
out.
going. This is gonna
Yeah,
suck.
yeah. Hmm. All right. Uh,
We're getting a venue that has a lot of walk by traffic, foot traffic, which
so an outdoor sign would be helpful. That being in a strip mall, I guess. The sign people are going, oh, hey, it's comedy on Friday or comedy on whatever night of the week it is. Um, Kind of allows them to adjust their plans, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Working when I was working at Gex, outside having a cigarette, there's constantly people coming by, stopping, and looking at their calendar that's posted outside. I'm like, oh, let's go. Maybe the show just started.
Yeah, there's that advantage as well.
Yeah.
Uh, now, we've done our half hour. It's gone by fairly quick. What this is a hard thing. Now you haven't
Did you
pivoted to
all
do
learn a
online.
lot? Did you all learn a lot of fun stuff tonight?
We've learned that I'm a shitty interviewer. I think that's part of what
Yeah,
we
I'm a
learned.
terrible guest, so it all works out.
We're a match. So
Yeah.
you said you haven't pivoted much to do online
No,
comedy.
I did do an outdoor show this summer though, or in
Oh,
the
cool.
fall, and I might do
It
one
wasn't
again
a
in the
drive-in, was
spring.
it? It
No,
was. Oh,
it was in my backyard. It was called. I live in a. It was called the Lower Town Murder Porch Comedy Festival, and I
Lower
have like a
Town
little
Murder Porch.
parking lot in my backyard. Yeah, and if you saw the setting, which would be my back porch, it really does look like a murder porch. Conceivably there could be bodies buried under there, but it's in this little parking lot in the back, and everything was begged, borrowed, and steal to get the show done, and it actually was amazing, shockingly,
Nice,
all
nice.
outdoors.
Now, um, I do want to mention. Uh, I want to talk about this a little bit first before I go back into that. Um, so during that the murder porch, so you had it amplified. Did you check with your neighbors, see if they were all going to
I
be
did.
cool?
I have some elderly neighbors that brought us donuts. They're like, "This is for your party." Yeah, and it was really cool because
Welcome
we had
to the
other
murder porch.
neighbors. Yeah, we had other neighbors. Like there's apartment buildings nearby. People were out on their balconies watching. We live streamed it onto Facebook, and we're soliciting donations, like pay what you can.
Mhm.
And I was actually able to pay people, so that was
Sweet. That
pretty
is
unexpected
that's
because
yeah,
none
being
of the
able to
talent
pay.
went into it. And I mean, the talent was varying levels too. We had some Ottawa headliners on the show, just thinking we were doing it for free, and I ended up getting to pay some of
Paying
these
them.
guys. So
What was it like a full 2 hour show or an hour and a half, or did you
yeah, we
do you?
started off with some live music
Okay,
going first, and then we aimed at having like a 90 minute to an hour and 45 minute show, and kind of probably ran a little bit long, but we were not in violation of any bylaws. And there were about 40 people, all kind of socially distanced, and
that's awesome. That sounds like
yeah,
wow.
we had two
Uh,
mics, one for the host to keep, the other one we'd swap out and sanitize. And
which is cool. Now, all right, that is kind of a good lead in for the other part. I've seen you because the lockdown restrictions in Ottawa are ending now. Is that correct? Like you
yeah,
guys
we're
can have.
in orange, so there's still some restrictions, but as of today, I could be at a bar or at a comedy club, but I'm here with you,
Thank
Paul.
you, thank you.
Yeah, they're lifting to the clubs are opening this week.
The clubs are opening this week now. You actually posted caution, which is kind of like looking at the Ottawa Comedy Forum and some Ottawa comedy friends. We're all so excited that the restrictions were lifting and that they were all going to rush out. And you actually sort of said, hey, like, all right, they might be lifting restrictions, but this is still pretty serious. Like the vaccine's not a magic bullet or something
Mhm.
of that nature. How do you feel about the opening? Do you think it's actually too soon, or do you think because you were suggesting like comedians being more clicky than they were the last time that the restrictions were lifted because you were worried that there could be an outbreak in the Ottawa
We were
college
pretty
area.
loosey goosey the last time restrictions were lifted. I mean,
Yeah,
protocols were all still in place, but um, we can in Ottawa. I don't know how it is on the Quebec side, but you can, drink at your table with mask off once you've sat down. But you're
yeah,
sitting all of a sudden with other comics that you haven't seen in 5, 6 months, whatever. And the case, I think we were in the single digits though back then in Ottawa in terms of new cases per day, but we're
yeah.
still in the double digits. We have those variants. It's not
We hit the
safe.
triple digits.
Yeah, we did, but we're
Yeah,
down. We're back down to just double. It's what's the point of these clubs going through all these extra protocols of, I mean, legally they have to, but what's the point if you're just going to sit there and chat with your friends you haven't seen in a while in your household and you're drinking beer and you're coughing on them or whatever,
yeah. Speaking
as I
of,
do with my smoker's cough.
yeah,
And I did try to be a little safer. There are times where I was just sitting by myself. But I think I mentioned in a thread, one time I went to the washroom outside for a cigarette, come back, and there's three other comics sitting at the table.
yeah.
Like, I miss you guys, like, but fuck off. I don't sit with me.
Well,
Go away.
do you think that maybe they should wait until the new case count is in the single digits before they lift these restrictions? Do you think
I
just the
think
fact that they're announcing lifting the restrictions just making people go, oh, it's nothing to worry about? Let's share a smoke outside.
I think
Pass it.
I think our community's been lucky. But I think that we have to be smart about it. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't. It's a you don't want the club owners to lose any more income, right? You do
yeah,
really kind of want things to reopen. Unfortunately, there's just a really big fraction of society that requires the government to tell them what to do, so they'll actually do it. And even then, they don't do it. But I
yeah.
mean, if we follow all these guidelines and we're smart about it, we should be safer.
Hmm.
I say completely safe, but we could be doing it more cautiously and safely than you know. Um,
Yeah, I personally have a bit of a conundrum because I have a roommate who's immunosuppressed.
mhm,
So that means if I'm going to work, I need to make sure like I'm perfectly safe and that the people around me are taking it serious as well. Like I'm going to work on set tomorrow. I had a nasal swab. I to be able to share with those people, I had to sign a statement saying that I've not traveled, I've not been with anyone outside of my bubble, and all these things.
mhm,
And there's an element of comedy that I really enjoy that is very much a sort of a fuck you to the establishment.
mhm,
And I'm a little worried that some people, because they're young and they're healthy and they think that they're immune or immortal even, that they're not going to care. And one of my past guests was Chris Fonseca, and Chris Fonseca had a young comedian friend of his. I'm saying young in relative terms because the young man was in his 30s, who was diabetic, who died from COVID. Uh, and there are comedians and young people. There's a comedian in Toronto who had COVID,
mhm.
and admitted that he wasn't maybe social distancing as well as he could have because he didn't think he'd be at risk. And here he was, like, not either in his late 20s or early 30s, but generally a healthy person.
Mhm.
Um, and COVID doesn't respect that. So
No, no, and I've had friends that have been hit with it as well.
yeah,
No one's passed away that I know, fortunately, of it, but you can get it. I mean,
yeah. I mean, a musician friend of mine has lost some like 40% of his 30 or 40% of his lung capacity, and has like a chronic pain, and he's a survivor from COVID. Right, so
a long hauler.
there's
It sounds like, yeah,
a long, I
long
didn't hear you.
hauler,
A long hauler.
long hauler. Yeah, there are people who have had COVID that are experiencing illness and side effects down the
Yeah,
road are called long haulers. Yeah.
yeah. He's also going to have to take blood thinners for the rest of his life,
Oh my God.
uh, just because of the risk of blood clots from having COVID. So yeah, so these are permanent effects, and like so even even catching it and being cured is not a safe thing. I feel like I'm scaring people here. I don't mean to scare unless it's like they didn't care and weren't watching.
Paul's comedy
Uh,
show, guys. Paul's
Yay!
super fun. Let's talk comedy.
Let's talk comedy. This is They Talk Funny.
And now we're gonna list all our friends who have died.
Yeah, let's take a moment in memorandum to list those that we have lost, and then Karen,
Unfortunately.
it's going to be up to you to put a closing joke. Uh,
No, I can't disrespect them that way.
so what are your final thoughts? What do you now? There has been a lot of online. I know that you said you haven't pivoted to go doing that,
Oh
and
God, no.
and I haven't done a lot of online stand up myself because I don't feel the connection with the audience as much as I like. I like to sort of feed on that audience energy. Uh, but
Did you
I have
perform when things opened up before? Like, have you performed in front of the um
we didn't have plexiglass at the Comedy Nest, but I did perform at the Comedy Nest. We had the wiggle room was open, and there was a space between the stage and the seats. They actually redesigned the layout of the wiggle room,
mhm.
and they moved everything to couches, so you had to buy tickets as a group, and then they had plexiglass between the various couches, but not between the people in the stage. You couldn't remove your mask until you were on stage, and we had multiple mics, so we could switch out for all the acts that required mics because it's a variety show. It's not just stand up, and we weren't allowing duos, so it all had to be single acts. So musicians had to perform solo. Um, but yeah, so I've never had to see like I could see my reflection on some of the plexiglass in the room, but it wasn't as bad as I well, I'm not saying as bad, but as I
It's
imagined.
bad. It's bad.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's like it's for
Especially if
those who
you gained
perform
like
into the mirror.
25 pounds over
Oh
lockdown like I have,
no
and you're like
no!
just distracted by your wellness. Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh Christ.
Yeah,
And
I
you
don't
can't
think
see
I.
the audience. And so it just sounds like you're telling yourself jokes in the mirror and like maybe you have some friends laughing in the living room at something else at the same time. It's so off. But I'll take
But
it.
there has been a growth of online shows. Battlecom is something that deserved to be online years ago, and I only got off my ass because of the lockdown to do it, to put it online. And I'm doing this, which is They Talk Funny. My good buddy, the Love Doctor, is doing his show online, and that's like he's got over 6,000 views doing that. This show, even we're on what episode 42. This year 42.
Yeah.
We are, at the 3,000 or so views of people that have tuned into They Talk Funny to listen to comedians talk and complain about comedy. I know it's very much like a podcast, but we're doing it live. That's why those fuckers who are watching should have chatted something in the comments, you pricks. Just this is the way I
It's
love.
just you and
This is the
me.
way I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just our
Uh,
private chat.
our private show. So this is. Do you think some of the online shows are going to survive the reopening? Do you think that there's still going to be a call for it? Do you think comedy might have changed a little bit to now include
I think
this
that's an
niche?
accurate statement. I think comedy might have changed a little bit. I think people probably prefer to go see live shows, but I think that in general, the way we operate as a society has changed at this
Yeah.
point. And a lot more things are just going to be online for sure.
Hmm.
Um, and why not? I mean, some comics are thriving online. There's been a lot of comics have been booking corporates and whatnot,
And
and not
also,
having to leave their house. They're like,
yeah.
I just, and then there's money in my bank account.
And I've got a green screen now. There is, there's also the fact that you can be on an online show with comedians from the UK or
Yeah.
comedians from South Africa or Australia. You could be doing comedy at 7:30 in the morning, and it's an evening show for the audience, and the ability to sort of network and meet other performers from different parts of the world is I think.
Yeah, you don't have to travel out in the middle of a snowstorm to some buttfuck nowhere hotel, uh, get bed
Yeah,
bugs in the process. You can just
yeah, comedy
stay at home with your
condoms.
own bed bugs.
Yeah, yeah. Who don't want those foreign bed bugs?
Yeah,
Uh,
just don't want them mingling with mine.
yeah, exactly.
And
You,
keep
I don't
mine
need a,
pure.
I don't need a class war on my body. Uh, I've had fun. Have you had fun?
I have.
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that I wasn't smart enough to ask you about?
No, I don't think so.
All right, and I just now you confess that you don't use them often enough, but your Instagram is Karen Joy Mac,
I
and
believe it is.
you're
Yeah.
Karen J Mac D on Twitter.
I think I
Uh,
am, yeah.
so those are the two ways that people can follow you on social media.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can.
this has been a real pleasure to chat with you. Thank you very much
Oh.
for stepping up and saying yes.
Well, I owed you one. No, just kidding. I wanted to be here. It was fun.
You
It's
you
good.
owed me one. Oh,
I
damn it!
canceled
And this is how
Battlecom,
I
I think,
cashed it
yesterday.
in. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. All right. Well, I gotta have you on Battlecom again sometime soon.
Awesome. Okay, sounds good.
I congrats with the relationship and with Rocco and for all the shows that you will be producing soon as the lockdown restrictions end. I'm
Here's
Paul Ash.
hoping.
With me is uh, Karen Joy. Please check it out. By the way, trying to find YouTube videos of you doing comedy.
Yeah, no.
Not no, nope, doesn't exist.
Mm-mm.
Doesn't exist. There is another Karen Joy who does comedy.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, so you might want to do a YouTube dive into that.
Did I change
And
my name again?
I think it's a possibility that you
Okay.
might have to. All right.
Sounds
Uh,
good.
thank you. I don't know how you live with a Karen as the name now, with the way everyone treats that name, because you are such a sweet person. You don't deserve all that hate. Uh,
It's
again,
been a slice for sure.
I'm Paul Ash. This is there. Over there is Karen Joy. Thank you for watching They Talk Funny, episode 42.